Last year I completed State of Decay 2 Lethal Zone using only one character. However, I didn't. I actually only managed to take down the 30 play carts in the Lethal Zone map, but no legacy missions would spawn because I didn't have any other community members. So it's time to put that right, but multiply it by 5. I'm going to complete all 5 State of Decay 2 maps with all 4 legacies. That's roughly 150 play carts with one single character. Is it even possible? Well, let's find out together. But before we get into things, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. The first map we'll be conquering is Meagher Valley due to it being fairly rich in resources right at the start. But in order to pull this off, we're going to need a character so diabolical he'll make Billy Butcher look like a level 5 Magikarp. No, not these two dickheads, this handsome devil in the middle, who apparently doesn't know how to pack a shovel. The first thing our hero does is tell Bill and Ben to fuck off. Then we get introduced to this fine specimen. Some say he was designed in a lab with one goal: end the blood plague and save the planet. But the few that have met him know his true goal: to find his lost brother. Meet Wick, J. Wick, a completely original character named after his love to burn things to the ground. Any resemblance to a real-life person or fictitious entities, living or dead, is purely coincidental and certainly not grounds for a lawsuit. Mr. Wick has the Fortifications quirk skill, granting him the knowledge of craftsmanship and construction, neither of which we're gonna need, although the +2 materials a day won't go unused. Mainly we're after the hero bonus that comes with fortifications: barn raisins. We get an extra free labour once our standing is maxed out, which already puts him ahead of Dean from the previous challenge. He's also a Virgil Guard that gives him -40 fatigue severity and a Golden Eagle marksman for the extra 20 stamina. Stamina is going to be king in this challenge, and keeping Mr. Wick fast and nimble will be crucial. The 2 boons I decided to go with was Warlord and Trader to save me as much time from looting as possible. I get a ton of ammo from the Warlord boon and 4,000 influence from the Trader, which is quite handy as when this Deliveroo driver rocks up to my place I've got plenty of cash to get the purchasing. Although I'd have preferred those med sacks to be building materials, but I'm sure we'll be able to put them to good use. By the time I've raided all of his resources, I've still got plenty of influence left, so my next step is to call in the Prepper's pickup for the extra storage space. And I know what you might be thinking at this point:
Jay, you bloody moron, you're wasting time. Won't fake tea kick in about 45 minutes of game time?
And you'd be correct, but to quote the late great Abraham Lincoln, if you give me 3 hours to cut down the bloody tree, I'll spend the first hour and a half sharpening the pissing axe. I just hope we don't get John Wilkes boofed by a triple pack of blood ferals. I collect some building materials from the warehouse and an ammo sack from the military stash behind it. And once I've shown off Mr. Wick's impressive driving skills and used my rear end to take out a blood feral, I find 2 more sacks of building materials nearby, then start building an infirmary. I also turn the gun shop nearby into an ammo outpost, and I've always thought this was a bit of an odd area to pick up school supplies as there's nothing else even slightly close to it. Also, rather surprisingly, this shop hasn't been raided, which might be the first time I've ever been able to loot this place in Lethal Zone. So with that, we got ourselves a daily income of ammo, as well as the sack on my back. I then continue a bit of looting, collecting fuel from the shed and meds from this house. And with that, it's time to take on our first mission, as allies might be able to assist us in finding Mr. Wick's brother. These guys are looking for play examples, and seeing as they're also selling coffee and energy drinks, 2 things that'll come in handy later in the run, I'm more than happy to assist. But first, I climb the tallest nearby structure and enjoy the view. And with the first of 150-ish play carts in my sights, it's time to get to work. And while I do have plenty of ammo and explosives, now is not the time for shooting from the roof. We need to make use of our stamina before the fatigue kicks in. I creep my way in like Drake in a high school and quickly eliminate the only 2 Zeds in the building. And that gives me the time I need to quickly complete the first phase with 3 powerhouse swings with my shovel. And the molly I threw did a great job of clearing any zombies heading towards the heart, so after eliminating another 2, I complete the second phase. But the final phase is going to be a bit trickier as I now have a couple of Zeds on my tail. Well, you'd think that, but one more full power swing and a molly I tossed to thin out the crowds eliminates the play cart quicker than the Boeing CEO can say the word whistleblower. Now remember, if I die due to mysterious circumstances, I don't have an affixy wank fetish, and the only guns I own are attached to my biceps. Sorry ladies, I'm a taken man. I collect the samples and some other tasty loot, then deliver them to the Good Samaritans who gift me a sack of fuel supplies. I also purchased the earlier mentioned energy drinks and coffee before cracking on to take on play cart number 2. This heart is situated in a little farmhouse, but the plan remains the same as earlier, melee weapons only. Okay, maybe with a side dish of incineration. What do you expect? My guy is literally named after a candle. I get 2 full power swings on the heart before the crowds catch up to me, although as I'm trying to escape, the snap aim screws me and I drop a Molotov at my feet. Oh god, Well, the snapping fucked me there. At that point, shit has well and truly hit the fan, so I go full auto on the play cart, proving once and for all whenever I mention a plan, I'm chatting at the shite. A couple more shots gets the job done, but for the first time we've taken infection damage. But hey, that's just the kind of shit that happens when you're the zombie slaying the completely original character, not based upon any other works of fiction. Our third heart is only around the corner, so for the first phase I hit it and burn it, before looping around the back of the house to deal with a screamer. Nope, don't think so. Spit at someone else, you prick. The second phase is completed with one swing because I'm hard as fuck. Unfortunately, however, I get greedy and my lungs get filled with a toxic stench only those close to Donald Trump can relate to. There's also a bloater sleeping outside. Is that really a bloater or is that just no, it's just a fat guy. Okay, fair enough. Not an ideal situation to be in, especially as I said earlier, stamina is going to be king in this challenge. I'm certainly going to have to be more careful going forward, assuming I want to complete the challenge. But hey, that's the third heart dead, and some tasty loot to go alongside. I then pay a visit back to the previous heart to complete the looting spree there, before heading back home to unload my spoils of war. At this point, my standing is just over halfway, meaning I'm still restricted to only one labour. I can't even clear away the shit in this outdoor slot. Christ, how much rubbish has they gotta be for this to be a two-man job? But luckily there is one thing I can build that'll be of much use. But first I use infection therapy to remove my partial infection. Then Mr. Wick heads off to collect some supplies. Well, one supply to be precise. You see, I've been grinding daybreak and all this prestige is burning a hole in my pocket. So I pay a visit to the prestige trader and pick up a Red Talon workshop prefab. Obviously I could afford a lot more, but let's not take the piss, is it? The Red Talon workshop is the equivalent of a level 3 workshop, except it supplies its own power, which will be useful for a legacy mission down the line. But mainly I don't want to spend too much time collecting an extra 40 building materials in order to upgrade the regular workshop. What can I say, I'm a lazy boy. Anyway, with the workshop only needing one labour to start construction, I immediately head off, obviously leaving the manual labour to a team of ghosts, or maybe Mr. Wick has trained some plague Zeds or something. Then on my way past, I set my second outpost, this petrol station. And once its resources have been scavenged and my car's been topped up with dinosaur gunk, we head on to take on more play carts, and that's when I realise fatigue is slowly starting to creep in. You might not be able to see it under the gas inhalation, but it's definitely there. The next heart is in a farmhouse, and that goes down without too many issues, providing you ignore that I'm once again partially infected. I quickly scavenge the useful items from its husk and move on. And at this point you might be thinking this seems a little too easy. Why the bloody hell aren't there any freaks spawning? And while I'm not entirely certain on how it works, I'm pretty sure the amount of freaks that spawn is linked to your standing, and seeing as we've only got one character, my standing isn't maxed out yet, ferals don't seem to be spawning as I assault play carts. But don't worry, trust me, we'll get there. The fifth heart is in a barn, and while it is possible to wedge a vehicle in a way to guarantee an easy victory, I always seem to mess that strategy up and don't really want to risk our car. There's also a triple pack of bloaters on their way, so I want to try and use them to my advantage. Unfortunately, however, I forgot to bring mollies, so I've got to ignite them with the grenades I looted from the previous heart, and that doesn't do anywhere near as much damage as I thought it would. But that does complete the second phase, so 2 more heavy swings ends the play card, and we get some banging loot for our efforts. Our 6th heart is in another barn, but this type I can very much block with a vehicle. So as you'd imagine, this one is pretty much a freebie. Pretty much, but not entirely. A little bit of fatigue. It's just, oh god, where the hell did you come from? What the fuck? Did he glitch for a wall, or was he just stood there waiting for me? Like, no, I'll wait for you to finish talking. Thankfully, no other issues occurred. Good night, play cart. I collect more loot, and by my estimation, I should have just enough pocket space to take down and collect the loot from one more play cart. Although, if I'm being honest, that was me being a little too greedy. You see, Mr. Wick has a maxed out stamina skill, meaning as long as I'm not carrying too much shit, I can sprint about without losing stamina. But right now, I'm relying on caffeine to keep my lungs working. So I think it's time I use up some of this ammo I've been holding like a deranged prepper. But funnily enough, in this universe at least, the preppers had a bloody good point. And right now I'm benefiting from the fact most of them actually had the survival skills of a panda. Yes, my tirade against those black and white fluffy fiends continues. What is the point of a bear that only eats sticks? Anyway, another 15 rounds gets the job done, and now I can go and drop off my loot. But by upgrading my petrol station to a level 2 outpost, I don't need to go all the way home. I can drop off my rucksacks there and save me some fuel. It's pretty much an unmeasurable amount of fuel, but as Tesco would say, every little helps. And with that, we've now got ourselves a nice little stash of resources. Our stand-in has also hit hero status, so we set ourselves as the leader. A bit egotistical, I'm sure you'll agree, but at least now I'll be able to see exactly how many plague arts we've got left. 21 remaining in Meagher Valley. I then mow down a crackhead in cold blood and my car starts smoking. But that's alright, I know where I can get a guaranteed 2 toolkits. Oh no, I can't find 2 toolkits here because I've got some dickheads in here. And funny enough, these guys are the boon traders. Literally the guys I raided for resources right at the start, and I can't even threaten the fuckers with violence. Well, would you look at that, my past decisions catching up with me. Touché, sir. Touché. I guess for now I'll just focus on smashing strange meat. We head north to find another heart in a barn, and with a mixture of beating and shooting we get the job done, even if I've taken on even more plague damage in the process, including more gas inhalation. But don't ask, I don't want to talk about it. But if you'd like to check out the run in full, I'll leave a link to the live streams in the description. After leading the hordes away, I collect some decent loot and head back to base to remove my partial infection once again. But this time I also use emergency medicine to remove the trauma, seeing as I've got plenty of medical supplies. And with that, we're in excellent condition to go back to hunting plague arts. Although sadly our car isn't in as good a shape as our health currently is. The next heart is in a medical centre, and with a shovel fuel bomb full auto tactic, it goes down quicker than anything we've previously faced. And you'll be glad to know we're finally rewarded for our efforts with a toolkit. And I even managed to use the thing with a sleeping bloater just behind me and plague Zeds wandering about. I told you all I was world class at stealth. Our next target is only around the corner, and once I phase it with the shovel, I drop a molly which sets all the Zeds on fire and causes a damage multiplier glitch which almost instantly takes out the plague heart. Certainly not deliberate, but we'll take all the help we can get, I guess. I also get another toolkit before taking damage and having to throw myself out of the window. And with that, I head to the southeast corner of the map where there's a solitary plague heart that goes down without too much trouble. I even find another toolkit and an abandoned car outside. I'm sure whoever left it there won't be needing it any longer. It's then once again time to climb up a tall structure, which turns out to be a great idea as I get a first aid kit from the container at the top. We've also discovered the location of the next 5 plague hearts. And you know what they say, when in Rome you eat pasta and shout obscenities at minorities? Well, in Plague Zone you bash in skulls and blow your load over strange sacks. I also do my bit to lower the local crackhead population. Here we go, dead, dead, dead. But just like the 11 that have come before it, this plague heart shall too fall. But with me having taken way too much plague damage than I'm comfortable with, I think it's time to head back to base. However, there is one thing I've completely forgotten about: my fuel gauge. Oh. Well, there's definitely been worse places around at fuel, so I'll take that. Gratefully, I've got a fuel resource in the back, so once it's broken open, I can refuel and just be grateful I'm not surrounded by juggernauts. But I really should be more careful. I then get back to base and sort myself out before realising my mates are looking for building materials. And usually I'd be like, fuck 'em, but I need building materials myself for the next thing I'm planning on building. So I make my way to this construction site with his 2 unfinished houses. And incredibly, I don't just find 1, nor 2, but 4 sacks of building materials, which not only means I can deliver a sack to the Good Samaritans who go from friendly to allied, I can also start the construction of my next building project, the shooting range. That 20 plus stamina is going to be very important. Stamina is God. No, stamina is king, that's the phrase, isn't it? And with all that admin out of the way and our crew of construction ghosts busy working, it's back to play territory. Our next victim is in a little tavern, and they always tend to be quite awkward due to the heart being in the bathroom. I complete the first phase having taken minimal damage, then drop a frag to clear the crowd. And from there it's pretty simple to get the killer blow. I can then cross the river to do my favourite thing: climb another tall structure. I find 3 plague hearts in total, but before I leave I've got to check out the utility shed as there's often a toolkit in there. Jesus. Okay, on this occasion it's a sleeping toppy boy, but I don't want to shoot it and deal with the aggro of fighting more hordes, so instead I make a more foolish decision. I try to creep around the bastard. All I'm after is a spare toolkit and I'll leave. However, in the first container I find a machete, then building mats and scraps of circuitry. I guess where the final container is. So how do I deal with the problem? Charging in head first, of course. Thankfully the damage isn't too extreme. I know other Zeds heard the pop, so I can wait it out in the corner like I've been put in timeout. But hey, let's be honest, all this headache will be worth it for a spare two. You son of a bitch. It's fair to say I'm taking bigger L's than Draco for the past few weeks. Anyway, back to the goal at hand, taking down a player cart in this warehouse. I crowd control with frag grenades, then narrowly avoid a feral attack. It gets stunned by a second frag grenade, but I'm not quick enough to deliver the killer blow. So I stick it in the corner and fill it with lead. And with that, the play cart falls not too long after. And at this point, you might be noticing my player's gotten a little sloppy. I'm almost infected, I have trauma that's not connected to my childhood, and my lung capacity is starting to drain. And I'm not one to make up excuses, but there is a reason for everything. And at the time of recording here in Wales, we were experiencing a twice of the year phenomenon known as summer. Admittedly, it had hit a little early this year, and you'll be glad to know we're now back to grey skies and drizzle. But look at the state of that face. It's shinier than Pep Guardiola's forehead. What can I say? 16 degrees isn't for the faint of heart. Okay, well that was fucking close. I am insanely close to infection. Now don't get me wrong, I've got plague cures, but we kind of want to be saving as many as them for the last few maps. So the question is, can I take down this plague cart and get back to base before that dreaded 5-minute timer makes an appearance? With phase 1 complete, I lead the hordes on a nice long loop to give me plenty of time with the heart, although in my panicked state, machine gun goes brop brop, and the second phase comes incredibly easily. Another wide loop around the outside of the house, and once again going full auto gets the win. But you know for a fact I'm not leaving until I get my hands on that precious loot. But that definitely could be a risky decision given the amount of zombies around me, especially as it's literally impossible for me to be any closer to Blood Plague without actually having it. But what can I say, Mr. Wick is an absolute machine and grabs all the loot without any issues. Right, now it's time to go. Now it's time to— Oh, you bastard! You son of a bitch!
Gotta stay on my toes while I'm in plague territory.
Yes, you should stay on your toes while in plague territory. And we can't take the cure while at the wheel, as drunk driving is frowned upon. And instead of pulling over and just taking it out, I decide to wait until I'm back at base, which is irrefutably a moronic decision, as if I hit a single bloater, it's nights out before we've even completed the first map. Oh shit. Nope! Nope! Oh my god! That was... Wow. Nothing could go wrong, right, chat? And once again, we're never punished for a stupid decision. And when it happens as often as it does to me, it's not luck, that's pure skill. Once the cure has been taken and emergency medicine has been activated, we're pretty much back to square one with the exception of a smidge of fatigue. And I do have a coffee that'll sort that out, but it'll be better used when the fatigue gets even worse. So right now it's back to taking down plague carts, and I wish I could say the plays get better from here, but they don't. Don't get me wrong, I can complete the first phase with plenty of roly-polies while the frags manage the crowds. But I need to do this quick and escape as I can hear a juggernaut's roar outside, and I don't want to use my car as a plaything. Thankfully, after all that overcompensating, it's only one shot. I then leave without even thinking about the loot, although I do lose a door in the process. That wasn't the smoothest way, I'm sure you'll agree, but we got shit done. And that's what counts. And we still have the stim active. Except it runs out almost immediately after those words leave my mouth. If anyone ever needs a jinx, just drop me an email. I complete the first 2 phases with the frags on my shovel while evading the hordes in the bunker. Oh my god, these zombies just coming from everywhere. Oh shit, gas! Not good. But thankfully, once the gas has dissipated, it is just one more swing to say goodnight, sweet prince. But I'm now on a roll, and judging from my face, the temperature has creeped up to 17 degrees. So I abandon any thought of looting and just crack on immediately to the next plague cart. After parking it like my missus at the supermarket, I immediately charge head first and take some stupid damage. But once again, frags are my best friend and I complete the first phase, although I need to stop taking damage like this. I decide to get some space and leave the hordes behind, but there's a feral waiting for me outside. But Mr. Wick is a machine and crackheads don't scare him in the slightest. Oh shit, I've just thrown myself off a cliff. How the fucking hell do I get it back up there? Usually I'd say follow the yellow brick road, but I guess this rocky incline will do just fine. We can then finish off the heart with the shovel, and after our looting the previous 2 hearts, I want to check out what goodies it has. Mainly after any explosives though, if I'm being honest. I start by getting their attention outside, then once everyone has vacated the house, I leg it like the devil is chasing me. And I suppose 2 fuel bombs and a shotgun ain't too bad for a day's work. So let's crack on to another heart, another in a barn? Almost as if we're in farmland or something. But this time things don't get off to a great start, as I take more damage, and I'm once again an ant stick away from infection. So for revenge, I drop one of my 2 fuel bombs. Burn, baby, burn. And not only does that cause it to phase, but it also burns up all the undead, which means I can shoot straight through phase 2 and take down the plague cart. Although my gun is now on the verge of breaking, and we're now getting chased by a feral. But hey, let's be honest, there's only one of them, they don't stand a bloody chance. Especially as the machine known as Mr. Wick. I then have to lure the rest of them away, and after eliminating the threats, I can collect even more loot. But that is when I notice we we have a wandering trader spawn. But not just any wandering trader, an Echo Lab trader. So I rush over knowing I could potentially be about to purchase the greatest item in this game. And it's fair to say our last collie certainly didn't disappoint. Not only is she selling scent block and zombie, but she's also selling the ability to craft them, as well as much more with the advanced biochem station. I purchase all three, but I'll leave it up to the comment section whether or not I'll use them in future maps. It might become necessary as we get further into the challenge, but ultimately the decision is yours. To be fair, I probably should have also bought the repeating crossbow, but it is what it is. So I once again save myself a future cure with infection therapy, then spend a controversial 5 minutes going through my supply locker and scrapping all the weapons I've collected over the previous 2 hours. That way I can use the parts to keep my preferred weapons working perfectly. We now have 9 play carts left in Meagher Valley, so it's time to get busy. Firstly, I head to the most northern westerly section of the map to, you guessed it, climb another cell tower. Maybe it's the wind in my hair, perhaps it's the intrusive thoughts telling me to jump. All I know for certain is this is a great way to find more play carts.
Okay, nothing more to see here.
I head to the heart closest to us on foot, which is in this warehouse. And you'll notice I'm back to being a sneaky boy. Stab. 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 But unfortunately, a Plague's Edge ruins my ninja-like approach by throwing itself through a window. Well, if they ain't being silent, there's no reason I should be. I start by smacking it with my shovel, but didn't quite realise how many zombies were inside, so I drop a molly and go for a run. Unfortunately though, that run didn't drag anywhere near enough of them out of the warehouse, so when I head back inside, I've got to drop a fuel bomb, but hey, at least we've completed the first phase. But then I gotta deal with a crackhead, which doesn't cause me any first-hand problems, but his buddies do leave a little mark. The crackhead falls, and not too long later, so does the play cart. And the good news doesn't stop there, as there's also an ambulance outside with 2 medikits in. Always great to have a backup solution for removing injuries and trauma. And once the heart has been looted, we can crack on to the next play card. And I wish I could say this one goes by without a hitch. Things get off to a horrible start when my heavy shovel becomes yellow. But luckily yellow is a warning colour like it's on a traffic light or in the snow. Anyway, with the heart phasing, I drop my final fuel bomb, but then guess which annoying pricks decide to make an appearance. Not just a feral, but a bloody juggernaut too. Without a doubt a terrible combination. Thankfully though, the feral is dealt with easily and the juggernaut can't get his fat head into the building. But this has now become a speed run to prevent the fat bastard from destroying my car. I complete the second phase, then run out front while the juggernaut is around the back. Then once I'm satisfied that enough time has passed for the gas to fade, I can head back inside to complete the job. But no time to loot this heart, it's time to get the fuck out. And thankfully the next heart is only across the road, barely 200 meters away. And thankfully this one does go by without a problem, but I did have to do a lot of running to lead away the hordes. Then I head southbound chasing plague territory and climb another billboard. And that's when we get our first curveball. Hyper-auditory mutation. That is a big area to have that in. All of my play carts are in here. The last 6 play carts I have are in this area. Great hearing, eyesight impaired. I'm a loud boy. I don't find any play carts from the scouting spot, but I have a rough idea where one should be. There's gotta be a play cart by there. If there's not, I'll eat my own ass. Oh look, there is, play cart. Phew. My plan here is to take down this heart so I can claim a 3rd outpost, seeing as I've had enough building materials to upgrade the command center to level 2. I can then use that as a mini base to drop off supplies and repair my weapons while I'm on this side of town. So you'll be glad to know this heart goes down nice and easily, providing I keep moving. However, the outpost I got my eye on is still in plague territory, so it looks like I'm going back to hunting before I can do any repairs. The heart is in a petrol station just down the road, and this one also goes by without an issue, although I've now caught the attention of what feels like a gazillion Plague's Heads with super sensitive hearing. So by the time I get back to the Army and Navy store, I have a lot of issues turning it into an outpost. By the time I clear the building, hordes have followed me through the window. But that's alright, I'll just get their attention and lead them away. The same strat I use for dealing with the Plague Heart in this area. But oh no! There are so many in the area that by the time I loop back around, there's still a few roaming about. And to save time, I looted the Plague Heart on the way past, so now I'm running incredibly heavy. An unsuppressed gunfire while in Plague Zone when they've all got super sensitive hearing is just asking for trouble. You can fuck off as well. So I tried to gather them all in one pile and drop a fuel bomb. But if I'm being honest, that barely touched the sides. No matter how big of a loop I made, I couldn't get the built-in secure in time before the hordes caught up to me. And now the horde's back! So I may have slightly lost my mind in a moment of rage. And as you could probably expect, that just made the problem even worse. So I climb onto a car in the car park opposite and just start blasting. I want nobody near that fucking outpost. Then once I'm satisfied no one is in or near the gun store, and everyone is surrounding me, it's time for another loop. although this time I draw them through the laundry store, closing both doors behind me to slow them down. And then finally, after what felt like hours, I can claim the outpost and set the incendiary landmines. And once I've dropped off all our loot and repaired my shovel, I make sure our tank is topped up and we go on the hunt for our final 4 play cards. The first of which being in this warehouse. And if you're wondering why I parked on this side of the fence, there was a juggernaut on the other side. But even with a big boy loitering about, there's nothing that can stop us now. That play cart falls and so does the next. And that leaves us with just 2 play carts remaining in Meagher Valley, and thankfully they're both right next to each other. And the news just gets better from there. The first is in a barn that I can block off, so that's a freebie. And then the final heart is in the horse corral next door. I claim the first phase easy enough, but get greedy and take a smidge of damage, but then toss a pipe bomb which I collected from the last heart, before almost blindly running into a bloater. Thankfully I still have frags on me. Oh, nice. But other than that, with no more issues, I take down the heart as well as the feral that comes afterwards. And just like that, Meagher Valley is cleared of the blood plague. But this isn't over just yet. Mr. Wick's true goal is trying to find his brother. But first we need to escape and come up with a plan. And ideally without burning alive. Gratefully it's not the end of the world, as I'm carrying a toolkit I collected from a previous playcart. But again, I'm very lucky we weren't surrounded by juggernauts and ferals. I then turned my attention to my next plan, collected water. And you might be thinking, why the bloody hell do you need water for, you fool? You've only got 1 character and you ain't growing food. Well, to put it simply, I need water to craft 1 item. Just 1 item that will assist with my future fatigue issues. An item that comes from the Colombian jungle that wakes you up, makes you alert and sets you up to conquer the day. No, not that one. Coffee. Coffee will postpone my fatigue when it gets bad enough, so I put all but 8 of my food supplies into it. And that's when I noticed the boon traders have become hostile because I've been rejecting their help every time they've radioed me asking for freebies. And it's like, bro, this is supposed to be America, where we let poor people become riddled with debt because they don't want to just die from cancer. So I'm like, what the bloody hell do you think I'm gonna do with you moaning bastards? Try walking off burst fire to the cranium, you fuckers. And you might be thinking, was this just an elaborate plan to allow you to loot the guaranteed 2 toolkits in the fire station? Perhaps, but perhaps not. I guess we'll never know. And with that, Wick goes on the search for his brother, starting by trading fuel supplies with a new enclave, but sadly, they haven't seen him. Frustrated with his efforts, he builds a fighting gym to blow off some steam, then starts battering the undead. But then word gets to him that the other survivors in Meagher Valley aren't pleased that he may have burst fired the faces off some of the residents, so he decides to try and put things right by travelling around to clear the air. Unfortunately though, at his first stop everybody is already dead. Certainly doesn't make me look good, especially after I burned down their house. It just makes it look like I'm trying to hide evidence. So when I get to the next enclave, they're already fearful and they don't give me a chance to explain, they just run away scared. And it gets even worse with the next enclave I visit. The fucker just tries killing me on sight. And I'm like, bro, I single-handedly took down the blood plague. Do you think I'm even slightly bothered about one lonely boy? Although I do find a concerning note referring to me as a tyrant. So when I hear about some coalition members that have set up base in town, it's time to go clear the air, and perhaps they may even have some information about my missing brother. But when I get there, they aren't interested in diplomacy and just start shooting. So I return fire and eliminate 2 of the 3, and the 3rd surrenders. However, I'm not able to interrogate him as quite literally the largest horde of armored zombies I've ever seen surround us and just start beating the shit out of both of us. And because they're armoured, I can't just deal with them in my normal way, which would be scorched earth, and every time I stamp out 1, 2 more spawn in its place. We do have a curveball on that makes armoured Zeds more common, but this might be taking the bloody piss, man. In the end, my only choice is to lead them all away and hope my captive doesn't escape. And thankfully he doesn't. I guess he has the survival instincts of a panda. I'm then like, do you know my brother? And he's like, yeah, I know him, but I'll never tell you where he is. So with him being of no further use, Wick puts him down, as armoured zombies scratch at his side. But now the rage is flowing strong, and Wick is out for revenge. These bastards know something about his brother, and he will stop at nothing to find them. But he just sees red and brutally guns down the entire coalition without giving them a chance to talk. And this is why you don't mess with family, and why you certainly don't get in the way of Wick. And with that, Meagher Valley has been saved, but unfortunately we are no closer to finding Wick's brother. So for one last time, he climbs up the tallest mountain to gaze upon the land, before moving on to Providence Ridge, the next town he'll be searching for his long-lost brother. And if you want to watch that live, I'll be streaming it on this YouTube channel this Sunday, that's the 19th of May from 6 PM UK time. But if you're only interested in the videos, which is fair enough, it'll be uploaded the same time next week, so don't forget to like the video and subscribe to see the future episodes. But there's one last thing that annoyed me slightly. One thing I've never noticed in all of my time of completing this game. After completing a legacy and moving maps, my fatigue and trauma completely resets. But don't worry, I'll just put that back using the community editor. Me and Wick will see you in the next one.